Thank you, Esther.
Okay, presentation started recording.
All right, tonight's agenda has had a few small changes. We moved a few things around and added some important information. We will start with some welcome and introductions. We'll be hearing from Mr. Brent Lee, our USD Board President, Patricia Thetford, our DLI Immersion TOSA for K through 12 on digital resources for students. Christy Dufour will speak on Fremont Elementary School, some changes to DLI there. And Josefa Moya will speak about the Family Resource Center. And at the end, we should have time for questions and suggestions, a little bit of conversation tonight. Some basic house rules. Please keep your microphone on mute. Unmute when you are ready to speak. Use the chat box for questions or comments. We can actually write those down and collect them if we're not able to answer your question right here and now. And also, this meeting is being recorded. Click the globe at the bottom of the screen for interpretation. That will take you to the Spanish language channel. This is me here. I'm your Somos DLI Partners President. My name is Ashley Peak. We also have Jacqueline Maria with us tonight, our Somos DLI Vice President.
Hello, everyone.
And Bianca Corrales, our Somos DLI Partners Secretary.
Hi, everyone. Hola.
Thank you, ladies. And we are a partnership because we have a wonderful working relationship with our DLI administrators. We have Esther Garcia. She's our coordinator for DLI K through 12.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here.
And last but not least, we also have Patricia Thetford, who is our TOSA. That stands for Teacher on Special Assignment for DLI K through 12.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Patricia. Some background information about Somos DLI. Maybe this is your first meeting and you're still trying to figure out what all of this is. We are a support group for the dual language immersion program in Riverside Unified School District. Somos means we are, or are, and that means the parents, the teachers, the administrators that support this program. Some of the goals of our group are to provide resources to DLI families to ensure success, to help build and foster communication between school sites. Remember, now we are up to, is it 12 sites, Esther, counting north? That's a lot of school sites. To enhance engagement of all stakeholders, meaning all students, all teachers, all sites, to encourage ideas and opportunities for our students, and to develop a roadmap for families as they journey through the 13-year program. Our first speaker this evening is Mr. Brent Lee. He's a longstanding member of the Board of Education here in RUSD. Not only has he served as trustee for Area 5 since 2009, folks, he is also currently serving as the board president. Mr. Lee has contributed countless hours to help our district support students, families, teachers, and administrators. He's also an avid supporter of DLI and was an early supporter of this parent group. We are lucky to have Mr. Lee with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Are you ready for me? All right, cool. First, big shout out and thank you to Ashley and Jacqueline and Bianca for leading these groups. I mean, these groups don't happen without parents and families supporting them. And I know that our staff and the board is all very grateful for the volunteer hours that you put into helping organize our parents and keeping them informed and advocating for this program. Also, shout out to Esther and Patricia for all the work they do to lead DLI in our district. We're really lucky to have them both. They lead a really large program. I know they have support with folks like Erica Square and others to help support the work that they do, but they're really our boots on the ground to make sure that DLI happens and that we have great programs at all of our school sites, teachers that feel supported, and students who will be ultimately successful because of this program. So I did, Ashley asked me just to talk a little bit about not only my role as a school board member and supporting DLI, but also my experience as a parent with DLI kids. So my DLI adventure as a parent started actually with Senora Thetford. And my son Henry was so lucky to have Mrs. Thetford as his kindergarten teacher. And she set the bar really, really high for instruction for students in the program. You know, I think like a lot of parents, regardless if they're English dominant or Spanish dominant in a household, they have concerns about their student starting school as a kindergartner and learning predominantly in Spanish, right? And with many of the kids not even knowing any Spanish yet. So we were also parents who had that same concerns, maybe to a little bit of a lesser degree because my wife speaks Spanish and we have family members that speak Spanish. So we were fortunate to have a support system at home. But we really trusted the process and the data and the success of students that came before ours and just followed the plan. And we're really, really glad that we did. My oldest Henry, who started with Mrs. Thetford, is now an 8th grader at Gage. So he's right now preparing for the AP exam, which is pretty incredible to think that not only are our students that participate in this program becoming bilingual and biliterate and bicultural, but they're also going to take essentially a college class when they're 13 or 14 years old. So it's been fun to support Henry as he prepares for the AP Spanish test. I'll brag on him a little bit. He doesn't often share with us what is going on in his school. He does well, so we don't have to worry about him. But he did have to get his Spanish teacher asked his parents to sign that they shared their AP prep test with us, and he scored on his prep test. He scored a 5. So I think that's just a testament to the amazing educators that we have supporting our students and just the first-rate instruction that our students are getting. And that if you buy into the program and you just follow the plan and trust the process, then for most students, I think they're going to see success in this program. So that's Henry. My second son, Felix. He's a 7th grader, and he took DLI up until the end of 4th grade. And my wife and I had to make the difficult decision because he was picked to be in the lottery for his STEM to decide, are we gonna change course? And so ultimately we did, but we still support Felix in practicing his Spanish and conversing with his brother and sister. And while his Spanish is not as good as his brother and sister, he hasn't lost it completely. So even for those students who, for whatever reason, choose to exit the DLI program at some point early, there's still lots of benefits, I think, to the program. And we're really grateful for Henry's experience. And then my last child, Amelia, my daughter, she's a 5th grader at Washington. And she is our social butterfly. So she is also really being challenged by the program and having lots of fun learning 2 languages. So we've really been able to see it over the course of our 3 kids and over the course of now 9 years, how wonderful a program like DLI is for families like ours, and I'm sure many of you on this call. You know, as it was shared, it's also been fun as a board member to see how this program has grown over the years. You know, starting at one school, Washington, and then growing to now 12 schools. I started writing them down as notes this morning. I didn't get to 12. So I think that's a good problem to have, where we have so many opportunities for our kids to be immersed in another language and the benefits of being multilingual has. So Really grateful to see our district just really champion our students with becoming multilingual. Also seeing the continued demand for the program. Sometimes when a program grows, it loses steam or loses momentum, potentially could become, for lack of a better term, watered down. But I think our staff and our district has done a really remarkable job, continue to create the demand for the program and making sure that we have quality educators at every single school site, so that regardless if you're a student at Washington who has probably the most experience in navigating DLI, to one of our newer schools like Fremont, it doesn't matter where your kid goes to school. They're going to get an amazing opportunity, amazing instruction in Spanish and English, and become bilingual and become biliterate, as they enter middle school. So I'm really grateful that we've been able to continue to attract and recruit teachers to this program, so that we can offer as many students as possible this opportunity. I think one remarkable thing to note, and another achievement for our teachers, is that while we experienced some dropout after the pandemic or through the pandemic, which of course is valid given the constraints of instruction and trying to make sure our students were learning, as we're discussing today, in a new language, we figured it out, right? Our teachers figured out a way, while it wasn't ideal, to make sure our students still got great instruction throughout the pandemic, and continue to grow the program 5 years after the pandemic, and we're still going strong today. Also, of course, parent groups like Somos have been really integral to continuing to advocate for the program and answer any questions from a parent perspective for other parents who are considering this program. I know we've had not a huge challenge, but challenges depending on the school site, especially for our families who are predominantly Spanish speaking, concerned that their students are going to get behind because they don't speak English at home, and that they know how important it is for their child to learn English. But telling them, again, trust the process. It's going to be okay. Your student is going to learn English. That it's not a problem. But we want them to also maintain their connection to their roots, to their language, their native language, and not only be able to converse and translate on behalf of the family, but to do so at a high level, to where it's like if they were going to school in another country that spoke Spanish. So I think that's great. And then also, I think it's remarkable too that all of our school sites have become champions for their own programs. And I think for the continued success, as we, I think, kind of right-size the program now, as we're, I think, at about 12. I don't see any, at least in the near future, immediate growth plans at other school sites. Could happen, but I think we have a good network of schools, making sure that our school sites are supported and advocating for their program to their communities, so that the programs continue to stay strong and robust and full for years to come. I touched on a little bit already about just the really importance and the benefits of our students being bilingual, biliterate, and bicultural, and how that they'll be able to take that skill set and that knowledge base with them wherever they go. Whether that they decide to go to junior college after they graduate, go on to a four-year university, go on to the military, go straight to work, regardless of what decision they make after they leave RUSD, they will have skills that set them apart and provide more opportunities for them as they move into their adulthood, and make them more marketable regardless of the industry that they choose. So I'm really excited about that for those students that do that. And the last thing I wanted to mention is it really just opportunities in the future for this program and for our students. And you mentioned it, North, being able to offer more students the opportunity to do DLI into high school so that their DLI journey doesn't end in middle school. And really the uniqueness about North is that them being an IB school and what that looks like. So really making a very difficult program on its own, DLI, but coupling that with IB. So really providing just another level of rigor for our students who wish to pursue that. So I'm excited about that. I think there's opportunity also as we grow our dual enrollment program with RCC to find opportunities for students to take college level courses that they get college credit for that are also available to them in Spanish. So I think there's opportunities as we move forward with that, as we continue to develop a good relationship with RCC. I know we had a educator recruitment fair this past weekend, and I know we have a really great HR team and a personnel team that's always looking for creative ways to find our next round of teachers that can become BCLAD certified, so that they can participate in our DLI program and teach classes in Spanish. So any way we can continue to support our HR team and find creative ways, because there's lots of districts out there trying to recruit teachers, especially teachers that are BCLAD. So we're going to have to continue to stay innovative on how we interact with those teachers at the university level, and maybe even our current teachers who would like to become BCLAD, find ways we can support them with time and investment so that we can always have cutting edge and really skilled educators providing support to students in this program. And one thing I was just thinking of that I think could be interesting, and maybe there's already discussion on this, is the Sister Cities International Program. So some of you might know that Riverside has a variety of sister cities across the globe, and two in Mexico. So I think it would be really interesting if we could find ways to collaborate with schools in some of our sister cities, just to give those students the opportunity to practice to speak with somebody from another country, learn about their culture, they can learn about our culture. And it just came to me, my wife just started back at work at City Hall. So she's working with the mayor's office and helping lead the Sister Cities program. And as they're kind of reinvigorating it and kind of reinventing this program, I thought that would be a good way. How can RUSD be involved in that process and give our students an opportunity to engage with students from another country? So I know I spoke for a long time, but I appreciate the opportunity and happy to answer any questions that you have, or anything else.
Brent, I'll kick off the questions. Do you happen to know which cities in Mexico are our sisters?
I believe it's Ensenada and Cuautla. I think those are the two cities.
That's a really great idea. Any other
Thank you.
questions for Mr. Lee?
I see later in your program, so I won't go too into it because I know there's people here to answer those questions. But also for those of you that were part of the advocacy for Fremont, grateful for that advocacy. The board is very supportive of all of our DLI schools, including Fremont, and so is our staff. I think everybody wants our programs to continue to flourish, especially at Fremont. And I'm hopeful that the interest in DLI at that school will continue, and we can rally that community, and even outside that community to see Fremont as a good option for their kids, so that Fremont's opportunity to be a DLI school continues as long as Washington and for generations to come.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brentley, for being with us tonight. It's wonderful to hear you talk about DLI, both from the perspective of the years that you've had on the board in this district, and also as a parent of 3 different children in DLI. I think it's really wonderful to hear those personal stories, and it made me really proud to be a part of this program and this district. So thank you very much. Okay. If no other questions for Mr. Lee, we can continue on. Oh, wait, we do have a hand raised. Liz Shabilsky, go ahead.
Thanks. I put this in the chat. I just wanted to understand. I really appreciate sharing the information. And like Ashley said, sharing stories is really so meaningful. So thank you so much for that expertise. You talked about right sizing the program. Can you just talk to us a little bit about how the decision making works at the level of the district for those of us who aren't already, who are just parents who might not totally understand how the whole process works? That'd be really helpful.
Sure. So I think one of the amazing things about Riverside Unified is that we have lots of amazing programs, and we try to create lots of innovative and amazing programs to attract all different types of students and all different types of interests. So obviously, we've seen a lot of interest in the DLI program. So that's why over the last, how many years has it been, Senor Threatford? 14 years or so?
15 years.
15 years, we've continually grown the program. And we just we watch our enrollment numbers, and we watch our interest from parents and our capacity to support students in terms of being able to hire teachers and keeping facility restraints in mind as well, to obviously grow a program as much as we can. So I think DLI, now that we're at 7 elementary schools, we're starting to see almost any student that wants to be enrolled in DLI in kindergarten, we can find a spot for them. We can make one available. And that wasn't always the case. We had waiting lists for the program. Now there might be waiting lists at a particular school site. That's different, but I don't think we're at a point anymore where we have a waiting list for the program. So that's what I mean by right size. Our intention is to continue to keep the number of DLI sites, the number we have, and potentially expand if the demand shows. But likewise, we have to watch what interest comes from our students and our families. So if we see a lack of interest in any program, we look to see, do we have the financial ability to continue to support whatever program that is at that particular site. So I assume and I know Liz, and I know she's a parent at Fremont. So the issue with Fremont, which I know a lot of you are aware, was just not sufficient interest in terms of enrollment numbers during our enrollment period that caused concern for the longevity of the program at that particular site. So obviously with the board in discussion with staff, thought the timing was not quite right to make that decision this school year or next school year, and to hopefully that the issue at Fremont had to do with maybe lack of understanding or lack of program advocacy, and not pointing fingers at anybody. District's responsible. I think everybody, we share in this responsibility to just champion the program at Fremont, to make sure that families and parents were aware of that opportunity and what a great opportunity it would be for them. And then also making it aware on a district level on those families that maybe the school site that they would like their student to do DLI was full, that Fremont could be an option. So I think that's what I mean by like right sizing any program, but in this case, DLI. Hopefully that answered your question.
Liz
I
says-
believe there was another question, Mr. Lee. Says, I just wanted clarification that children who fit the listed requirement of consideration past grade 2 will be given a chance to apply. This will be question number 4.
I'll probably let.
Yes. Sorry, I was asking that question. This is Stephanie Calvillo. Just because at a presentation we're at recently, it was stated that they would not be admitting children past 2nd grade, even though the application process does state there's certain requirements for them to be considered to apply. My concern is mostly because, the current sometimes political climate on immigration we may start seeing some of the more native Spanish speakers leaving our classrooms, and our classroom size may diminish more because of this. So I would think it'd be a great opportunity to allow children to apply who fit these requirements. I know it does take a little extra work on behalf of those people who are in charge of doing that.
Yeah, great question and good suggestion. I'm going to let the educators in the call probably tackle that question. My understanding is that, at least from data, it shows that students are most successful if they start in the program in kindergarten and first grade. And I think that's just what the data shows, but I will let our staff, if they would like to tackle that question, answer it if there's exceptions to that rule if a student has certain characteristics.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Lee. Oh, we've got one more. You're almost done. Ron,
Ashley, I
go
can
ahead.
chime in real quick just
Right.
to kind of add on to what Brent was
Sure.
offering as a response to that last question. I think it is something that we can look at as a district, but on a case-by-case basis for students. Currently, we just the same research that Brent Lee was referring to, we only enroll kids in kinder and first, and even in particular with first grade, we want to see them starting at the beginning of the year, not starting at the very end of the year, so that they have that opportunity for continued success with that great foundation at the start. That doesn't mean that a student couldn't be successful if they entered in second through sixth grade. But at the current time, that is not something that we are doing as a district, but it is something that we can look into, especially on a case-by-case basis for each student, because each student will be different and whether or not they would potentially be successful with entering in at a later grade.
I believe Ron has his hand raised for the next question.
Hey, thanks. Well, first of all, Ashley, your dog is adorable, and everybody should have everyone should have someone that loves them as much as Ashley's dog loves her. Secondly, Mr. Lee, thank you so much for joining this call and for your support of the DLI program. Really appreciate it and appreciate your advocacy of the program. I guess the question I had was about the wait list that you did allude to just now. And I'm just gonna put it out there. And this is my experience. I don't speak for any others. Castleview and Washington have a disproportionately long wait list compared to the other 4 elementary sites. We applied to have our kid in Castleview, and Esther very kindly let us know, right, that Fremont was available. And I'm, personally really glad that I took the chance on it, because we are now surrounded by really wonderful teachers. And well, here's my kindergartner actually. We're actually really surrounded by really wonderful teachers and wonderful parents, and we're really glad that we made the move. I suspect just from being around ECR and being around certain other parents, that it's an image problem. It's just in terms of perception of the community and so on and so on. And I was wondering if there's anything that either you on the school board or the members of the district or us as parents can do to kind of kind of give a permission structure to parents to say hey, it's okay that you didn't get to join the DLI program at this really quiet residential neighborhood, but that this neighborhood that you might feel a little itchy about because it's off and off ramp, but it's getting a lot of new traffic controls, all these things that have nothing to do with the quality of the school itself. What kinds of things can we do or say to kind of give permission structure in order to maintain these enrollment numbers that we need to keep the program going strong?
I'll take a first shot at that. First, thanks, Ron. I think thanks for trusting the process and trusting Fremont with your kids. And I miss those days when my kids were that little and running around on my little Zoom square. So soak it up and enjoy it. One thing that I've thought about, and I think this goes for just about any program, is that I think we do a really good job educating kids, but we don't do a great job telling parents we do a good job educating kids. And it's just because that's not what we're good at, right? We're good at education. We're not marketers. We do have marketers that work at the district, but a very small number compared to the number of people that work here and number of students that we have. So I know one thing that I've talked with Esther and Patricia and others is really leveraging social media and parents like you, Ron, and Somos DLI to tell the story. I think that it's easy for us or Esther or Mrs. Stafford to say, oh yeah, trust us, it's a great program. Of course they're going to say that, right? They lead it. But when parents who experience the education, parents who have kids in the classroom, parents who are part of the PTA and seeing how their kids are learning and working with other kids, they're our best salesmen and women. So trying to figure out how we as a district can use our resources in terms of, our camera guy, or just putting together best practices for parent groups and for principals to constantly put the word out through video and photos, storytelling, so that the work does itself, right? We can have somebody like Ron record a 30-second video of how great DLI is and what the effect has been on his family, and push that out during a recruitment phase, and hopefully get lots of engagement from families who are like, oh man, I didn't know they had that. Or, oh, I don't speak Spanish, but my kid can still be in that program. So I think that it's just capturing those stories and having the right voice share those stories so that we don't have problems of low enrollment at any school site, right? That we get back to a capacity at every site, and potentially look at growing the program to other sites if we meet capacity. So anybody that would volunteer and be an actor or actress for the program, we would love it.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I mean, but the one thing I do want to say though is I want to make sure that Spanish speaking families and Spanish speaking parents also be part of that conversation, because I'm well aware, based on my appearance and my ethnic background, that I don't I don't and I shouldn't speak for everybody, and I want to make sure that not just Spanish language, but just to have people in the conversation that and there's an issue too, that these are trusted men, they are trusted messengers, and it's important to have
Absolutely.
to have those folks in the conversation, not just folks that look and sound like me.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, I think you have to have both. You have to have parents representing English speaking families, and you have to have parents representing Spanish dominant families, because I think the message resonates differently with different groups. So great reminder.
Brett and Ron, I'm just going to chime in and foreshadow later when I share about all the things that are going on. Those are actually things that are underway right now. So we have identified a parent of a Spanish-speaking student. Same thing. We even talked about doing a day in the life video of a student at our schools, to kind of show what it's like to go from the beginning of the day, different grade levels. So really excited to take all that feedback that we've heard from you and make something of it so that families can connect and assuage any fears or wonderings or curiosities that maybe just need some clarification, and not just from district personnel, but from our parents and our students and our staff. So look forward to sharing more later, but thank you guys.
I have a quick question. Is the enrollment lower in the Latino community because English learners are not reclassified, and is it more challenging to reclassify?
I'll let staff, they'll have more information on that.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Christy.
You're asking, let me make sure I understand the question. You're asking if reclassification is a barrier. They're worried that a student wouldn't reclassify going through the DLI program. I don't know if I can get.
No, I'm asking if the enrollment is lower because of the because of the
Because they have reclassified already?
just the language in itself.
I'm not sure if I'm following the question, but enrollment in like the early grades in kinder and first, we want to make sure we have a balance of our English only students, preferably 30, but English only, bilingual, and then Spanish speaking. But I don't know that reclassification is the barrier there to the enrollment. I don't think I'm following the question. I'm sorry.
I mean, I think I don't have data to support this, but I would suggest that I think our challenge with lower enrollment on the Spanish dominant side is a cultural issue. And I think it's a concern that their student is going to be behind because they're already English is their second language, regardless of what level of English they know. They want their kid to be like the other kids in school. And I think there's just a misunderstanding, an image problem, that if they don't speak English in the classroom every day and hear it every day, that they're just going to get further and further behind. So I think, again, as part of this messaging that we're doing, especially to our Spanish-speaking families, it's letting them know that it's not the case. Like whatever their preconceived ideas are about the challenge of learning English, it's only going to help them learn English faster and have a better base for being successful once they're in secondary school. So it's just messaging and informing our community and making sure we have the right messenger for that, as was talked about earlier. And I know that Patricia and Esther are having these conversations with our families, but they're only two people, right? So they can only talk to so many people and be in front of so many people. So it's, again, learning best practices. How do we message that down to the site level? Make sure the principal understands how to do that. All the teachers that support the program know how to do that. So we're all speaking the same language with the same message, so that parents have clarity that regardless of the level of English their student knows, they're going to be okay.
Looks like we have one more question for you, Brent. Yannick, go ahead.
Sí, buenas tardes. En relación a lo que estaban ahorita hablando, si un alumno que entra en el programa de que están aprendiendo, están en inglés y todo el día están en inglés, y hay estudiantes que salen del 12 grado y no se logran reclasificar. Ahora los alumnos que están en el programa y que tienen cuando van empezando, como ustedes saben, una hora, el 85-90% de español, y van pasando en los años y van entrando más al inglés. ¿Cómo le hacen o cuáles son más las ayudas? Esa es la preocupación mía como padre, de que no está al 100% aprendiendo inglés. Sé que me gusta el programa, está ahí, pero también sé que no está al 100% de inglés, porque en mi casa se habla español y el otro lo tengo en el programa. Pero ¿cómo le hacemos o cómo se le hace o cuáles son las ayudas para que un alumno logre reclasificar antes de que salga del 12 grado? Así como los alumnos anglosajones.
Okay, so her her comment was, based on the conversations that we've had in regards to students and how they learn in both languages. She was wondering, how is it that the school supports students who are learning English to be able to classify or reclassify before leaving 12th grade? Knowing that there are some students in our district who are sitting in monolingual classes who are only listening to English all day. And then you have your DLI students who have that model, the 90-10 or that 80-20, if they're not listening to English all day, how is it that the students are being supported in learning that language and being able to reclassify before they leave 12th grade?
I can answer, or Patricia, I think you can even answer this question for folks, or Esther. The beauty of DLI is that students are learning both languages at the same time, and metalinguistics is part of that. We make connections as teachers for students between both languages as they're focused in on one or focused in on another. It's not translating, but making students aware of the connections between the languages helps our DLI students to strengthen and grow and to become biliterate in 2 languages, just like the progress for a student in a monolingual classroom is focusing on that one language. They're not making connections, but they're receiving supports in developing language as well through focused ELD to help them make connections in that space. So it's just a different structure of program. Both English learners in both settings receive that support to make connections between Spanish and English, just in a different approach because it's received in the structure of the DLI program, which also has its own English language development or Spanish language development for students, and then just different in the monolingual class. I'll let Patricia or Esther add on to that.
Yeah. Can I just add that research has proven that a child who learns their primary language in a strong language setting will have a much easier time learning a second language. And this actually does happen with our English learners in our DLI program because we strengthen their primary language in Spanish in kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. When we transition them to the English throughout first grade, second grade, in third grade especially, learning that second language, which for them would be English, it's not as challenging to them. And not only that, they bring in a strong literacy background and foundation in their primary language to learn the second language. And just like Mrs. DeFore said, this is when we really implement the metalinguistic awareness for our 2 languages to make our students fully aware of the language they are currently speaking in or working with. And so this is actually a very, very strong program for our English learners. Research has also proven that a DLI program is actually beneficial for our English learners. They excel and they outperform, and they actually will meet reclassification criteria versus an English learner who is not in a DLI program. So Ms. Janet, our DLI program is actually an amazing, beneficial program for our English learners.
Well said. Thank you.
And I hope we answer your question.
And I think we have one more question, and then we probably need to move on to the next parts of our agenda. This has been really great conversation, though, and this is exactly why we have a group like Somos, so that we can have these conversations. We can ask these questions of each other. Angela, go ahead.
Hi, how are you guys? My son's in 2nd grade. I don't know Spanish, even though my last name's Munoz. Yeah, I don't know Spanish. My husband doesn't. I mean, we're trying and we're learning, but I think something that's come to our attention that's been really difficult, and I'll explain a little bit, but I was wondering, are there standards and guidance for teachers when it comes to giving out homework for our DLI program? So for example, 2nd grade teachers DLI program at Castleview and maybe Washington and all around, do they have standards and guidance? Just because I think it's been challenging. Our homework is all in Spanish. There's no Spanish, half English. Whereas like at another school, I've seen some beautiful homework packets that are that show in Spanish, show in English, and the homework's pretty wonderful looking. And, you know, instead of maybe spelling words like quizzes, there's you're going to write stories based off of these like 5 words in Spanish. I'm just wondering, is there anything like that? Just because it's been quite a handful of lots of homework this year compared to the other years. And I'm wondering, just are there standards and guidance for teachers in the DLI program in that regard?
We do have a consistent program for training our teachers and working with them. And we work with all of our teachers equally, and we present the same material, same programs, same expectations. However, if this is something that you would like to discuss further, I will be more than happy to call you to listen to your concern a little bit better and be able to give you all of the time that you need in a phone conversation or a video meeting if you'd like. And then that way we can talk about how can we best support our teachers to meet your needs if you like that. I can take your notes, Ms. Munoz, and be more than happy to contact you tomorrow if you like.
Would love to, yes.
Okay, awesome. I want to give you the time that you need for your question.
Okay, thank you.
I'm making a note of your name right now.
Okay.
I
Thank
also
you.
just want to add to that, like as another parent who does not even have a last name that's like Munoz. I don't even have that. That was really important to me, and that was actually one of my biggest I guess personal insecurities about, like, signing my kid up for DLI, right? I wasn't, I was afraid that I wouldn't understand the homework. And what I found, especially at Fremont, is that the parents have been or the teachers have been so supportive. They were so happy to like just answer questions that, Google Translate is not very reliable, right? Because the conjugations of a lot of words kind of look like other words, and it just doesn't, it isn't helpful. But again, I feel like I'm just plugging Fremont here. At least the teachers that we've had have just been really happy to just like, shoot a message in English if I just didn't understand what was going on. So take it from me. I've definitely had that misgiving before signing up, but it has not been an issue at all in my, and not to take away from you, but like our teachers have been very, very supportive. And taken together with what Esther's saying about having a standardized like training system, I'm not worried about it right now.
And I will say that every time I reach out to the teacher, it's been wonderful. I just, it's just, something I've thought about as a teacher myself, not with kids, but I think of this stuff, and that's been kind of challenging for us as English speakers. It takes a lot more time, which I know DLI is going to take time, but it's like, there's only so much more time I can do at home. So thank you, Esther. I will be looking forward to your call.
Thank you for being a teacher.
Oh, yeah.
It's a tough job, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll
Sorry.
just quickly add, just Angela, Esther will definitely get with you and reassure you, but like, I never could understand my kids' homework. Wait till they get in 8th grade. Like I can't even begin to understand. But I think that's another thing that we could, I know we do this, but just reassuring parents about the process and how do you support your kid in Spanish, especially when you got 2 English speaking parents. How do we be good supporters of our kid at home if they're going to send homework home? How do we assist our students so that we don't feel like failures as parents, and so that our kid, if they're struggling, that they don't feel like they're banging their head against the wall because nobody can help them at home.
Right.
So I think that's important.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And again, Mr. Lee, thank you so much for being here with us tonight and taking the time to answer questions and talk from your own heart, your own experience. We really appreciate you. All right, we are going to move on to the next portion of our meeting, but I did want to make a quick mention to say hello to Board Member Tweed, who's also joined us this evening. I see you in the list of names on the chat or the participant list. Thank you for being here.
Happy to listen in. Thank you.
And just as a reminder, Dr. Tweed is also a parent of DLI students. So it's really cool to see both board members here tonight. And we did briefly have our superintendent with us as well. I just missed getting to say hi to her. All right, Miss Patricia Thetford, go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for having me. I know that this is a great transition and in the digital platforms and the support system and resources that we have for the students as well as for the parents. So that's what we're going to talk about. I know that spring break is coming and we still have a couple of months or so, you know, before the school year ends. And you're probably thinking, well, what other ways can I support my child in being able to accomplish or, you know, have them, you know, focus on the Spanish and practice more at home, you know, in the community. Keep in mind that we have a lot of applications or platforms within our platform system at the district. So if every single student in DLI and every single student in the district for that matter has a Clever account. Within the Clever account, you will log into riversideunified.org into their account. And the students, once they get in there, they'll have a list of many things that they can click into and open and have access to the resources, curriculum that they are using in class. So let's go ahead and see some of those items that you might not be aware of that the students have availability for them to use on a daily basis to either support homework or to be able to practice in Spanish and in English. So let's go ahead and look at the next slide. The next slide shows Maravillas. Of course, I have to start with Maravillas because Maravillas is our Spanish language arts curriculum. And here are some tools that the students can use to support their learning while they're at home. They have the presentation of the week. They have videos about the concepts of the units. And also there are where the students can hear the stories in the audio form. And then of course, one of the wonderful things that within their books, they have páginas de nuestras maravillas, where are pages of our maravillas, where students are learning vocabulary about, you know, certain aspects of the culture, or they're learning idioms, or just certain specific areas of them learning and expanding all their culture that they have access to. Also, they have their books, their workbooks, Tu Turno, inside for them to practice. They have the audio of the anthology as well as their reading, writing workshop, que es el del taller de lectura y escritura. They have games within each unit that they could practice through grammar, through writing, etc. Any specific skill that they're learning in a unit. In addition, they also have that support of reading and writing through the audio level books that the students might be using in class. There's some decodable books for kinder, first and second. And then of course you have your time articles that are digital that the students can read. If the students are interested in reading like almost like a newspaper article for them to expand on their reading or their fluency. And then of course you have those multimedia articles as well. In addition, students have access to the vocabulary of the unit of the week within the Maravillas and the Wonders system as well. And everything that you see here for Maravillas, our students have access to Wonders as well. So the students have access to McGraw-Hill to you know, Maravillas and or Wonders for Clever. Of course, those students who are in 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, they're going to have access to both Maravillas and Wonders because they are learning in both languages and they're doing language arts in both. So they have access. Those students in kinder, 1st and 2nd will have access to Maravillas. And our next slide, you will see that students also have access to Brain Pop. Brain Pop is a wonderful platform where students have that opportunity to look at content-based curriculum, opportunities for them to learn. They can go into the themes of science, history, social studies, math, health, technology, Spanish, art, and music. And then you have all these 4 different platforms that our kindergarten and 8th grade students have access to. They have regular Brain Pop that is usually used for like upper, 3rd through 6th grade students, middle school, but they also have Brain Pop Junior, where you usually see students from kinder through 2nd grade using that platform. Then we have Brain Pop en Español, that all the activities, the videos, vocabulary within that program is all in Spanish. Plus, we also provide Brain Pop ELL. That's for your English language learner. For those students who are learning in English, they have access to all the different categories like every other Brain Pop platform has. If you look at the categories, you have movie videos, quizzes, primary readings, activities, experiments, vocabulary, games that students can use to learn. So based on a movie, on that, once they look at the video movie, then they can move on to the other categories. In addition, there are some parent tips that you can use with your students as well. In addition to Brain Pop, we also have at the next slide, we also provide Learning A through Z. Learning A through Z is a platform that all kindergarten through 6th grade students have for both English and Spanish. All students have access to these platforms where they are going to have leveled readers from kindergarten all the way through 6th grade that have fiction and nonfiction. Also, they have readings in math, science, social studies, art and music, and social stories at the different levels. There's books on just phonics, alphabet and high frequency words, fluency. Your student can practice reading and close reading, project-based learning packs, content area reading. If your student has not been using Learning A through Z, we encourage all students to really open Learning A through Z and see what it has to offer. They have resources like quizzes, and a lot of times our teachers actually give the students that opportunity by linking those books for them, linking those quizzes for them, and giving them that opportunity to read at their level. So this is really nice where students are reading at their level and helps them with their growth and their fluency. Another platform that we also is available for our students is Renaissance. Here is called the Star Reader. We have it in both English and Spanish, and they have access to that through Clever. So then they click on that, and students for the Star Reading in English are for grades 1st grade through 12th grade, and for Spanish, their grades from kinder through 3rd grade. But also all students have access to the programs. The wonderful thing here is that the students become really excited about reading because they can take quizzes with Accelerated Reader, and it's an independent reading program where they set goals for books that they like, and they get a quiz and they get points for them. So a lot of teachers keep an inventory of the students' goals that they have for themselves, and the teacher also provides that support for our students, so that that way students are reading at their level and they're accelerated to that next level by providing that support for our students. In addition, on our next slide, we have Footsteps to Brilliance. And if we look at the next slide, you're going to see that Footsteps to Brilliance is accessible to students in both English and Spanish. In our next slide, you will see that Footsteps to Brilliance, it's part of that team from the Riverside County of Education, where they want to make sure that all our students are literate by 5th grade. So it's a great initiative for all our students to be reading. They want to support literacy outside of the classroom. And we've included a link for Riverside County of Education for more information. But once you have an account for your student, which is through Clever again, on the next slide, you will see that students have that opportunity to not only read at their level, but they can register for free. Of course, you're going to select your school district, and then you select either in English or in Spanish or both, and you follow the prompts for students to have access to many available skills that they can learn, from phonemic awareness to phonics to fluency, etc. And then on the next slide, you will see for Footsteps to English that it's pre-K through 3rd grade, but they also include digital books, games, writing activities in both English and Spanish. In addition, we also have, as you can see, even within the program, they have the dual language development, where students are not only reading the books in English, but they can read those same books in Spanish. And one of the things that Esther said earlier tonight is that our students are constantly making those cross-linguistic connections, those connections from one language to another. So what our students are doing is they're actually, bridging the languages. And here, through Footsteps to Brilliance, gives them that great opportunity, because they get to see the same book in both languages, and they can develop that vocabulary through those 2 languages. In addition to that, I just want to remind you that the Riverside Public Library has so much information. They have upcoming events. I mean, this is just the events for March. And of course, you could see the story times. I mean, if you want your students to, do some activities, you could take them to the library. They have event spotlights, they have speakers, they have author events. And then, of course, you have 8 library locations. And the wonderful things on the other page, you can see that each location has different activities. So each one, caters to their communities, and you are more than welcome to go to any of the libraries in Riverside. And I left a link there also. I mean, this is just the calendar, but once you go in there, you will find many, many great resources for your students. And then, of course, one of the things that we like to do is to continue supporting our parents. We do have an online resources for students and families. Right here, I mean, you're looking on the online resources of things that I've already talked about, like Learning A through Z, Footsteps to Brilliance, Brain Pop Junior, Brain Pop in Espanol. But we have about 2 or 3 pages of just resources like Khan Academy. We have other resources that we feel are really helpful for our students and our parents to use and to look at, to give them that support that they might need. So we thank you so much. If you need any support, please contact either Esther or myself to give you any support. But we've linked this as well, so you can have, these resources. And thank you very much for your time tonight. Any questions?
Thank you so much, Patricia. We do have one. It's asking, do we as parents have access to these digital resources over the summer when they are in transitioning grade levels?
As far as I understand, yes, these resources are available for our students so they can continue learning and practicing. Yes.
Thank you.
They do. We do have them available year-round, 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from anywhere, anytime.
Any digital, resource you could use, you could have access through your iPhone, through an iPad, through your laptop. So yes, they have access to all these platforms.
And just to remind your parents, for some of the new parents here today, the slide deck will be posted on our Google site, so you could revisit these slides.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Patricia, for your wonderful presentation. You always go above and beyond to include every last detail for every single product you talk about. So thank you for doing that for us. All right, next up we have Christy Dufour to talk about Fremont Elementary School. Thank you for being with us tonight, Christy.
Thank you, Ashley. Good evening, everyone. My name is Christy Dufour. I'm the Director of Curriculum and Assessment here in RUSD, and I help oversee DLI as part of my responsibilities. I'm working alongside the infamous Esther and Patricia. Nadine Bravica, the principal of Fremont, was unable to be here tonight, but I'm happy to join you this evening to share a brief update on some of the things that have been underway, most recently to support efforts with recruitment for DLI students for Fremont in 25-26 and ongoing. We are also joined by a third grade teacher, I believe, that is on the call from Fremont, Maria Vega, who will also share some more insights of the work at the site level that has been going on. So I'll turn it over to her a little bit after I share some of the beginning information. Mrs. Bravica and I, along with Esther, our DLI coordinator, have been partnering to discuss the feedback received and organize efforts to support strengthening enrollment. While what I will share tonight is not reflective of all of the things that we're undertaking, we appreciate the opportunity to give everyone an overview. This slide here kind of captures some of the things that are going on. There have been letters and follow-up calls to families who are on the wait list from the first round of applications that has been completed. Those calls and letters have gone out. There was a family who did respond to that connection and chose to forgo staying on the wait list for the choice they originally selected, and excitedly declared a new first choice of Fremont Elementary. So we know that that follow-up conversation and email or mail letters works when we make sure that we're communicating also not just for Fremont, but for Longfellow too, both sites looking to increase their enrollment. So that was exciting to be able to share with you. Others were also, during those interactions, shared the opportunity to attend the upcoming Parent Night event organized by the Fremont staff. And it was shared with me that another handful of families applied for Fremont DLI that evening. So that was a really great outcome of that intentional action. Part of our actions and planning has centered around increasing visibility for the Fremont DLI program. This has included taking a look at and adjusting accessibility to information on the district and Fremont website pages, organizing radio broadcasting, posting billboards in strategic locations to draw from neighboring districts. In addition to our own, we looked at neighboring districts that had DLI programs that they might have filled and have wait lists for. So how can we draw attention to bring some of those families into our USD, especially if they're not very far away and they can access the spaces we have available right now at Fremont and Longfellow. As well as creating updated videos that we were starting to talk about and foreshadowing in the earlier conversation this evening with Brent Lee. So those videos are underway. We identified some parents and will continue to do so because we don't want just to have one or two videos. We want to share all of those stories that help connect our community to be the storytellers of why the DLI program is so rich in RUSD and specifically at Fremont and Longfellow. Also, there are, some concerns and wonderings of families that Brent alluded to related to, is my kiddo going to be proficient in English and Spanish by the time they make it through 12th grade? But the goal is by 6th grade, and then to be refining that biliteracy as they move forward through their secondary education. So we want our videos to help assuage those worries of families and some of the questions that come up, trying to cater to answering those creatively through social media, through our advertising and communication efforts. We can go to the next slide. At the site level, Ms. Bravica has engaged regularly with her staff and community members to gather input as well as organize some next step actions that they could undertake. Most recently, the Fremont team had a fun day of outreach to their immediate community at Reed Park, right next door to the school, and they set up a booth for Little League opening day. I hear Ms. Brodvica even took the field to share about Fremont, so it was quite an event. There was a family that night that also signed up to apply for Fremont. There was also a family night recruitment event held on March 17th. You can go to the next slide as well, and that I had alluded to before. At that event, teachers and the principal shared about the DLI program, welcomed families to learn more about the greatness that is Fremont. This was the event that we alluded to when we were making phone calls and reaching out to families. Hey, if you aren't sure, go to our recruitment event and learn more. And it was just nice to hear positive feedback from that evening. And the families that came and learned. There was a light dinner that was provided, and Fremont parents even shared in speaking about the strength of the DLI program there at Fremont. Staff at Fremont are actively supporting, next slide, in phone banking. So they are reaching out to RUSD families who may not be aware of the opportunity and the open application window that is open right now. That application window will close on April 4th. So we're trying to continue that steady progress of reaching out to families and communicating in a variety of ways, not just district efforts, but a close partnership, site and district, to make sure there's a lot of information going out and any questions that exist can be answered. And the next slide, coming up tomorrow, in fact, will be an opportunity to hear even more at the Fremont Open House. So there will have an information table there to be able to invite families in once again to tour the school and see all of the great things that are there. I have had ongoing conversations with Ms. Brodvica. We walked the site together to look at ways to ensure that there is visibility and noticeability that Fremont is a DLI school. So we have communicated with her that we can offer supplemental funding to help with extra hourly of staff that may want to participate in helping with the communication, or banners that we can put up in more visible places around the school, both having Spanish and English represented across the campus in various locations. But I will actually give a second to turn things over to Miss Vega to share any additional things that I know that they've been talking about at the site level. I know the principal has had regular meetings with the community and her staff to take all of the input that we can and then take those next step actions. So I'll let Miss Vega talk for a second, and then I'll answer any questions or add any more little details.
Sure. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. There's a few of us here, Fremont teachers, and we just want to say that we're very passionate and we're very dedicated, and we're working really hard as a team to get our DLI program going and be there for a long time, right? A long time to come. But as a team, we've been communicating, collaborating very much, at least once a week, about different things. A couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting with some DLI parents. I believe it was about 16 families were invited, and we had about 12 families show up. It was a virtual meeting. We shared different ideas of what we're doing as a site, and then what the district might be helping us with to help at Fremont. And then we also took some strategies or some ideas that the parents shared with us, and all of, that has been shared. One of the things that we have coming up, like you mentioned, was our open house tomorrow. We also are already with Miss Melgar. She's on the call too. We are planning our annual DLI celebration, where we provided the pins and the certificates for kinders, third and sixth grade. And that's also another opportunity to make sure that our families are engaged and come out to see what DLI is all about. One of the ideas that our parents gave us was to highlight more of our DLI students and the activities that we do in our classrooms on a daily basis. So we are collaborating as teachers with not just DLI classrooms, but with the English only classrooms to, so that kids see what a DLI student does on a daily basis, which is what the videos were mentioned earlier. After spring break, our music program, that's a big deal for our USD, and at Fremont, all our kids love it. The communications department is going to come out and have record a video of our DLI classroom and during music that's going to be shared at the board meeting. So we're just having a lot of various ideas and activities to help promote our program. One of our teachers, she's also on the call, Mrs. Romero, she heard on the radio, K-Love. So our USD is already promoting on the radio for, come on and join DLI. So we're really working hard and just trying our best to keep the program going, and we're open to any ideas from all of our parents. I'm a DLI parent as well, so I'm very passionate both ways as a teacher and as a parent. So I'm always advocating for the program, and yeah, we're working really hard. Thank you.
It's really encouraging. This is Ashley. Hi. Thank you both for speaking. It's so encouraging to hear all of the work that not only the administration is doing within our USD, but the teachers at your site. It's exciting to see how much you love dual language immersion and how much we can accomplish when we step into that power and work as a community together. So thank you so much for each and every one of your efforts, and also to the parent groups that are supporting those efforts in the same way, and the parents that are showing up and using their voice and encouraging their kids to use their language skills, because they're really our best model of this program. They're really the bread and butter, and the most enjoyable part of watching language develop is hearing it from our own kids. Be it from Spanish dominant homes or English dominant homes or both. So thank you for what you're doing.
We even included on the next slide the flyer with the application window and the QR code. So if you want to share any of this information, each of those images are linked to the actual flyer that you can click on, or the QR code is there, or the bit.ly. Please share that out with anyone you know who might be interested in taking advantage of an opportunity for Fremont. I know I'm speaking about Fremont tonight, but also for Longfellow. We are looking to support enrollment across our district, and in particular for those two sites. So thank you for the opportunity to share with all of you. It's just a snapshot of some of the things that are currently underway. We definitely do a lot more even over the summer or as we get ready to begin the year. So continue to share those ideas with us, and we would love to continue this partnership moving forward and work together.
Thank you so much, Christy. And I will absolutely take that flyer and put it on our Facebook page, and also put it on our Google site, which again, we've linked to in the chat. If you slide up a bit, you can find it. We put all of our slide decks and all of our video recordings from our meetings on that same site. So you can go back and review any of this information if you can't find it on our Facebook. Thank you. All right, I believe our final presenter for the evening, Josefa Moya, thank you so much for waiting patiently. I noticed Susanna Zamudio is also on the call with us. And I wanted to mention one more thing before I forget. I did also see Dr. Perez sneak onto our meeting, and we appreciate you being here, Assistant Superintendent Perez.
Hello, good evening. My name is Susana Zamudio. Josefa couldn't be tonight here. Josefa works with me at the Family Resource Center. My name is Susana Zamudio, and I'm the supervisor of the Family Resource Center. We are located on the campus of the Riverside Adult School, and we do two things mainly. One, we help families with community resources. Any family that is in need of anything regarding academics or any resources that they need, please, I'm going to put in the chat our phone number, make an appointment. We are there to serve our families. The second thing we do a lot of parent education. So every single, when you see, for example, a webinar, an academy, usually that is from the Family Resource Center in Parent Square. So next slide. I don't know if the flyers are there. Yes. So starting in after spring break, we have a family counseling agency that will do 4 webinars on social emotional, but the title is Stress Management, learning how to be with all those emotions, right? So starting the Wednesday, April 2nd at 6:30, identifying the accepting emotions. April 9th at 6:30, managing emotional triggers. April 16th at 6:30, mindfulness, breathing, and strategies for emotional regulation. And April 23rd at 6:30, fostering emotional intelligence in your family. Those will be virtually. All you need to do is register through the bit.ly, and that's it. You will be getting the link that immediately that day, and a reminder an hour before the workshop. In the morning, we will be having it in Spanish with English interpretation. So, it will be like the opposite, right? Like listening everything in Spanish, and then you will have the interpreter interpreted in English. The next slide is tomorrow. We have a workshop with Riverside University Health System called Understanding Adverse Childhood Experiences, ACEs, and Toxic Stress. We have one at 9 o'clock and we have one at 6:30. Both, it's an hour only of your time, but again, this will help you learn about the effects of adverse childhood experiences and how these experiences lead to excessive wear and tear of the body and brain. So really good information. The next slide. We are starting and we're partnering, first of all, with Ramona High School with the book club. The book club has been in effect for like 3 years approximately. They get a book, they have their book clubs all in Spanish. For the first time, we are doing one session in English. So if you like books and you will love to be part of this book club, it's going to start on the week of March 31st, as soon as we get back from spring break. If you want to register tomorrow and Friday, you can go and get the book. And again, the book club starts the week of March 31st. And with Ramona, there's like 7 different sessions you can join. So that will be a very easy to connect with them. The next slide. Oh, that's it. The book is called Harvesting Dreams. And I don't know if you saw that picture, a grad student finished her master's, and she took her photo sessions in the fields with her immigrant parents who don't even have elementary level education. So her story is very inspiring and motivating. So we hope that you can join us there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Zamudio, for joining us and always sharing such great information. And that last story is especially touching. I remember hearing about that in the news. Thank you very much. Okay, we have a few just updates of regular things happening for DLI. The first is to mention the after window application was opened February 3rd at 12 p.m. and it will close again at April 4th at 4 p.m. So please get those applications in if you are interested in joining DLI for 25-26 school year. More dates for you. Spring break, of course, is next week. Everybody raise your hands. That's exciting. March 24th to 28th, and students return March 31st. This is a long March. This was our final scheduled meeting for the 24-25 school year. So this will be our last one, and we'll see you next year. And I did see one more question in the chat that I thought I would go ahead and pose to Mrs. Garcia if she can answer. I'm not sure if she has the info. We did have a question wondering if we can get a count. What are the numbers for the Longfellow and Fremont applications?
I do not have that in front of me. And we do have many applications for, different schools, different grades. And honestly, I do not have that information with me right now. So, but I will be more than happy to share that with you, Ashley, or with the parent who asked, over the phone or email, or however you are interested. I do share that information with the schools as soon as I have the information ready. They can also go to the school and ask. However, I will not have that information until the application closes on April 4th.
Okay, I think that's very fair. Thank you, Esther. I will follow up with you on that and absolutely post not only on our Google site, but on our Facebook, which, by the way, if you needed access to, this slide has both of those things listed. Also listed there is my personal email address, as well as Esther's professional email address. We thank you for joining us this meeting and having such wonderful comments and conversations. And thank you to all of our presenters for being a part of this too. And thank you. I can take any questions as we still are here, but this will close our meeting. Margie, go ahead.
Yes, I have a question. So, I know that Spanish has many dialects, and so the reason I'm asking this question is because I have a backstory. So I know somebody who did DLI, and then they went to Argentina, and they were completely confused because they were using vosotros in Argentina. So my question is, what dialect of Spanish are we teaching our DLI students? Can they go to Spain and use vosotros? Then can they go to Argentina and use vosotros? Is vosotros included in the DLI curriculum?
For the Spanish, we mainly use the Spanish of the content areas in the materials that we use. We do not necessarily use vosotros. We use the more, I don't want to say generic, but the more common. That's the word I was looking for. The most commonly spoken language. We do teach our kids about the multiple countries that we have where Spanish is the primary language. That is part of our pillar 3, sociocultural competence.
You will also see the vosotros in your AP language and culture class or your AP literature class, especially when they're looking at literature and poetry. They will cover the vosotros in those areas.
Yeah, but that doesn't come out till middle school, parents.
Thank you.
If there are any other questions, feel free to ask. If not, we will go ahead and close things out. We made it to an hour and a half tonight. That's quite the large meeting. Yay. All right, that's probably it. It's quiet. Everyone's tired. We tuckered them out. Thank you again, everyone. And thank you to our Somos board, Esther, Patricia, Jackie, and Bianca, and also our wonderful translator, Luis, on the other side. I can finally see your face again. Thank you, Luis. We would not be a group as successful as ours without our translators, making all of that communication possible. Buenas noches.
Buenas noches, gracias.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Gracias. Gracias, Luis.